Welcome to Vasquez Rocks. My name is Debbie Goodwin. I'm a permanent rec leader here at Vasquez Rocks. We are going to take you on a hike on the geology trail today and share with you the geology of the park, the flora, the fauna of the park. We hope you enjoy it, and let's go hiking.
Sandstone is layers upon layers of sediment, just like the sand and gravel that you see out at the beach or in the desert. All those layers of sediment build up in horizontal layers. Those horizontal layers build up over time, and they are horizontal because of gravity. Gravity is working to pull everything downwards and out evenly. All the layers of sandstone are tilted upwards. So a geologist would come along and she or he would look at it and they would say, something's changed. These rocks should be horizontal, but now they're tilted up. And the geologist would probably figure that over time, the mountains have grown, tilting the rocks up, and erosion has worn them away, exposing them. So when you look at a formation like this, you can think of it like the layers of a sandwich, where the first layer would be horizontal, laying flat, and then you have layer upon layer of other material, your turkey, your lettuce, your tomato, and your other piece of bread. And you know that the bottom layer is the oldest. So when you look at this formation, you know, even though that the sandwich has been tilted, that these lower layers are older than the top layers. So the further you go this way, the younger the rock gets, and then the further down this way, the older it gets. Erosion happens all the time with rocks. It seems that rocks are really tough. They are heavy, they're strong, you can hit them with a hammer and they don't tend to break very easily. But over a long period of time, they do wear down, either by heat or cold. Water will soak into the rocks and freeze and thaw, and water, when it freezes, it expands and that helps break apart the rock. And water can also be slightly acidic, which helps break down the rock as well, especially sandstone, which is held together with calcium carbonate and things like that. But this rock formation here is being worn down in several different ways. We have plants growing on the rock. They have very powerful roots that help spread the rock, and they'll grow right down into the crevices. And those crevices, even when they're widened, allow water to flow into the crevice. And that water can freeze and thaw, and that helps break apart the rock. The water will soak into the surface a little bit, and in the cold nights it'll freeze and expand and help break apart the rock. And also the wind will carry sand and gravel to hit it and abrade it, rub it and wear it away. And then there's these beautiful colors all over the rock. These are lichens and mosses. So right over here, you can see the green right here. We put some water on that moss, and the moss can actually go dormant when it dries out. Right here on this rock is a microclimate of extreme desert. Because the rock doesn't hold water very well, these plants and fungi actually have to be able to dry up and go completely dormant. And then when we add water, they wake up really quick, try to make as much food as they can, and then they dry up and go back to sleep. And but they too help break down the rocks. They have little feet that push down into the rock, and they gather minerals, and that will help break down the surface of the rock, and it will wear down into the sediment below. And that's what helps make soil when you have the lichens and fungus dying and ending up in the dirt and making nice healthy soil. And then the plants, they live and die and go through that process and make very healthy soil. Vasquez Rocks Formation has been tilted up by growing mountains, but growing mountains don't just grow anywhere. They grow along faults. So as the Pacific Plate here, we're standing on the Pacific Plate, collides with the North American Plate, that collision causes fractures and mountains to be pushed upwards. And as they get pushed up, they break along fault lines. And these fault lines are just the break in the rock, in the Earth's crust. And as the Earth breaks, it releases lots of energy, and we feel that in earthquakes. But that energy is built up by friction. So friction is the force when you have two objects together. What holds them together is friction. And when you overcome that, they can slip, and that causes an earthquake. So faults, though, can be big and they can be small. And if it gets so small that it's just in a rock like this, it's called a joint in the rock. This little fracture right here is a joint in the rock. And the same thing can happen, though. As the rocks are being lifted, they're not being lifted evenly. So sometimes one part will raise faster and it will break the rock, and then you'll have a joint in the rock. So right in here, this rock has a large joint, and it's been lifted and offset the rock formation here. The flora and fauna here at the park, this is actually a juniper and chamise woodland. So this is a semi-arid environment. There's lots of yucca plants, which are sharp plants which have beautiful flowers that bloom. We have rattlesnakes and diverse botany. We've got lots of different wildflowers. In fact, the County of Los Angeles has a list of over 180 wildflowers right now. The juniper itself is a very beautiful plant, but it is a very slow growing plant, and it's very sensitive to fire damage. So when fires come through and burn large areas of these chaparral areas, it can take up to 40 years before junipers can start to repopulate the area and start to go to seed again. So it is a sensitive ecology here at this park. Other areas along the coast are more fire ecologies. So when they burn, they come back very quickly, but this area is very sensitive to fire and will not recover in the same way.
Thank you for visiting Vasquez Rocks. We hope you enjoyed the tour of our geology trail. And in the near future, if you visit the park, we hope that you come and visit us and maintain the COVID-19 guidelines of the 6-foot distance with persons, also wearing your mask at all times, no large gatherings, and also when you're on the trail, make sure you have eye contact with fellow hikers to maintain the distance that's recommended. Thank you.